Good morning. This is Kathy. Welcome to another episode of How To Day. Today is Tuesday, and we're at So Original. And today, Patty is going to show you another method for no waste fabric on Flying Geese. All right, Patty, go ahead.
Hi. I wanted to share with you a couple of things. I've got some mock-ups made of how to do this, but one thing I wanted to share with you was this little chart that you could use to figure out how big you need to cut your squares to start with. This is called No Waste Flying Geese, and the chart came from a website called Quilting Jet Girl. I think if you search for No Waste Flying Geese, you can find a similar chart. What you find on this chart is what you need to cut to get a specific size flying goose.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a flying geese unit that finished to 2 by 4. Okay, so that means I need my size needs to be 2.5 by 4.5. So if I look at this chart and find that on my chart, it tells me that I need to cut one large square, which is what this is, one large square that is 5 1/4 inches, and 4 of these little squares, which are 2 7/8 inches. Okay, so that's where I started. And again, this chart tells you if your geese are different size than that, you can figure it out from there how big you need to start with those squares. The next thing you do is you take 2 of the squares and you put them opposite each other like so. You're going to mark down the center, and then you're going to mark a scant 1/4 inch on either side. Now, if you're not sure how to mark a scant 1/4 inch, you would take your ruler 1/2 inch from the center over and then move it over just 1 or 2 threads, and that would mark a scant 1/4 inch there. Okay, the other thing that I found helpful was when you line these up, if you leave just a little bit of thread showing on the outside, just a little bit, not much, just a little bit right around the edge there, it comes out nice. Okay, so after you've done that, you sew down those 2 lines there. Another thing you can do to make sure that's a nice scant 1/4 inch is using I use the 97 foot, or you could use the 37 foot, which is the 1/4 inch foot on the Berninas, and I make sure that it rides right to the right of the stitching line there, so that I can make sure I've got that scant 1/4 inch. The other thing you can do also is move your needle over 1, from center over 1 space, to give you that scant 1/4 inch. So you sew that line, then you cut it down the middle, okay? When you cut it down the middle, you're going to get 2 units that will look like this, okay? Cutting that down the middle is going to give you 2 units that look like that. You press those units out. Then you take one of your squares and you put it again right along that corner. All right, now you're going to stitch again on these 2 lines. When you do that, then you cut it apart, and when you cut it apart, you're going to get a unit that looks like this when you press it out. Okay, so that's the way you make them. And then if you want to check them for accuracy, one of the things that I found really helpful is this Deb Tucker, say it for me, Deb Tucker ruler called the Diamond Rex ruler. And in this section right up here, it has a really neat tool for cutting, for trimming your thing. So I know that unfinished, this was going to be 2.25 by 4.5. So I'm choosing that section in my thing, in my window here. I'm putting the corner right here at where the point of the thing is, which is going to ensure that I've got a nice 1/4 inch from the point to here, so I can get a nice point on my geese, and then just trim and then rotate, and again line up the 2.5 by 4.5 and trim it again. So that made some really nice unit. It looks just like that. That's what this one looked like this before I started, and that's what it looks like trimmed. So
even though we don't have one here because we're waiting on our supply to come in, talk to them about the Quilters wand.
Yeah, there is a marking tool that you can use to mark this, to mark things like this. If you don't want to draw that line and then mark these two lines again with a regular ruler, there is a thing called a magic wand, which has a line right down the center of it that you line up with the corner points here, and then you mark on either side of it, and that gives you that 1/4 inch.
Wonderful, Patty. Thank you.